What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So today, Giannis Antetokounmpo turns 27 years old. So he is, even though he was jokingly saying the other day that he was getting old, Giannis is in the prime of his career. The next 6 to 7 years will be, barring injury, the best years of Giannis's career. All right, and I'm making this video because I don't think that he gets the respect that he probably should be getting at this point. Now, I know what it is. A lot of people still don't, even though I think the realization is starting to kick in a little bit more. Um, I think people are starting to accept it more, but there's still a lot of people who don't respect their championship run. They think it was lucky. They thought, and a lot of it is, I guess, Kevin Durant fans or Nets fans who still think that Giannis injured Kyrie on purpose, and KD didn't step on the 3-point line, and if Harden wasn't hurt, if soda daughter water hotter heat, you know. Um, and what's so interesting about that is when I point out to these Nets fans that, hey, you guys beat a Boston Celtic team that were without its two better players and Kemba Walker and Jaylen Brown. You say it didn't matter, right? You're so flippant about that. And then when you look at recent history, I mean, how many times have we seen a finals team beat a team when it wasn't 100% healthy? Toronto beat a Golden State Warriors team, even though Toronto had injuries as well. That doesn't get pointed out enough. But the Golden State Warriors were without Kevin Durant for pretty much all of that finals except for like a 11-minute period. Later on that series, of course, Klay Thompson got hurt. Boogie came back and then got hurt. So, I mean, people don't seem to put an asterisk on the Raptors championship, do they? They don't put an asterisk by Giannis's title. People don't do that with the Warriors in 2015 when LeBron was shorthanded. And people don't do that with Cleveland when Golden State was sort of shorthanded when they didn't have Draymond Green in Game 5 and when Andrew Bogut went down, I think from Game 6 onward. So I don't understand why people overemphasize it with the Milwaukee Bucks. They said both teams were fraudulent, but here you have Phoenix going right where they went off, last year. Nobody's injured this year, and Phoenix is beating everybody. So that was bullshit. Milwaukee was decimated by injuries this year. Decimated by injuries. Absolutely just, I mean, it was ridiculous at one point. And here you have Milwaukee right there in the third spot, if I'm not mistaken, in the Eastern Conference. And mind you, Giannis missed the last two games. So they're right there. They're threatening to be the best team in the Eastern Conference despite all of that. So I say all that to say this. The mainstream media keeps pretending that we're in the LeBron James era. Okay? They keep pretending that we're in the LeBron James era. But since LeBron James has moved over to the Lakers altogether in the regular season, and I'm just doing regular season here, are 142 and 109. That's less than a 57% winning percentage. And it wouldn't even be that great if it wasn't for the bubble year. You have one championship. He did deliver on that. But a lot of people, they don't respect that title run. I mean, they should, but a lot of people don't. One year when they didn't make the playoffs, And last year they were exited out in the first round by the eventual Western Conference champions. One of the most embarrassing displays for a defending champion that we've seen in the history of the NBA to be just jettisoned out of the playoffs in the first round. Now people blame AD's injury. LeBron was still lingering with the injury, okay. But now the Lakers are still struggling. They're still mired in a 500 record. Never took advantage of the easy schedule that the NBA laid out for them, one of the easiest schedules that we've ever seen. They didn't take advantage of it, and now the Lakers are going to pay the price. Okay. Meanwhile, Milwaukee has went through their adversity, and they're going to start climbing up the charts. I mean, when it comes to all overall record, but Giannis right now is the most dominant player in the NBA. Now, I think MVP wise, you got to give it to Steph Curry, but Giannis is in that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Giannis is just playing normal basketball right now. He's not on one of his tears. He's averaging 20, I think he's averaging 27, 28 a game, 11 and a half rebounds, 6 assists, normal numbers, over 50% shooting, close to 70% from the foul line, 30% or so 3-point shooting, which for him is a boom. You know, um, he's improving overall. His decision making on the court, his passing ability, his decision making. The wall doesn't work anymore. Remember the so-called wall. That was what shut Giannis down. That doesn't work anymore because he's an improved NBA player. And to me, Giannis, it's going to be his league. I think that ultimately, over the next 4 years, the Bucks are going to win at least one other championship. At least one other championship. Possibly, if things go right, maybe two additional titles. Because I think as Milwaukee, you know what happens with the NBA. The Spurs was a small market team, right? But as they started to win and become something at least close to a dynasty, if people don't believe they're a dynasty, they started attracting free agent interest. I think that's what's going to happen with Milwaukee. People forget that Milwaukee, a long time ago, was one of the better franchises in the NBA. One of the better new franchises going back to the 1960s. As a matter of fact, Milwaukee is the second fastest team in the history of the NBA. The second fastest team to 1,000 wins. I think the fastest was the Boston Celtics. But Milwaukee was the second fastest team to 1,000 wins. I think they did that back in 1985 or 86. They were really good. Remember, they were a uh, back in the late 60s. They were a new franchise, and Kareem turned that team around, and they won a championship. I think something like their third or fourth year in existence. And in the 1970s, they were one of the best teams in the NBA. 1980s, they were one of the best teams in the NBA. They didn't start becoming a poor team until the 90s. So a lot of us just remember the 90s and we just associate failure and gloom and doom with the Bucks because we grew up in the 90s. But the Bucks are back to being a powerhouse in the NBA. And longtime Bucks fans who are used to that, they were used to the Bucks being a better team. They love it. Some fans that go back to the 80s. So um, it's the thing, man. That Laker team, the writing's on the wall for that team. That team isn't going anywhere. When I say they're not going anywhere, they're not going to win a championship. A lot of Laker fans are really delusional right now, thinking that team's going to make some turnaround. They're not going to make a turnaround. Shannon Sharp said it best today. They're a team that's going to win a game, maybe win another game, lose a game. Win a game, lose a game. They're destined to be a 500 team. And the way that their schedule looks in January, they could become a permanent sub 500 team, which, just thinking about this, just think about this for a second. The fact that Lakers Nation is accepting a 500 team in the Lakers says something. After all of the expectations that was expected at the beginning of this year, a team that was going to win 60 games, a team that was going to romp through the playoffs, and have this inevitable meeting, this matchup with the Nets. Everybody said it. It was going to be a ratings bonanza. And it hasn't worked out that way. They're barely ahead of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Meanwhile, Giannis, who is not playing with another top 75 all-time player right now in his roster, nowhere near it, is doing a lot more with less, which is the hallmark of a great all-time player in his prime. So I just wanted to make this video on Giannis's 27th birthday. I believe that we're in the coming age of Giannis now. Right now, you could argue that it's Steph Curry's league. I guess you could say that. That is Steph Curry's league. But the future, I believe, is with Giannis Antetokounmpo. As these other players begin to get a little older, I think that Giannis will be the best player in the NBA. And a lot of guys like, Stephen A. Smith and some others will have to eat crow because they were so adamant that he should leave Milwaukee. Everybody was saying he should have left Milwaukee. And ultimately, he might. After his contract is up, he might leave Milwaukee. Uh, but right now, you know what I'm saying, he chose to stay there and he delivered a championship. And I believe he's all about winning titles. He's all about challenges. He knows that a lot of people still don't respect Milwaukee. And I think that the goal would be to repeat. When you repeat as a champion, that gives you an added measure of respect. So we'll see. But tell me what you guys think.